I am Nicholas Bornowis, President of Capital Link, and I would like to welcome you all to today's webinar. This year, we have not been able to host our annual Japan Maritime Forum given the overall circumstances. However, this has not diminished our commitment to expand our presence in the Japanese market and to serve as an effective link between the Japanese maritime community and the global shipping industry. Modern technology affords us the opportunity to remain connected. And actually, I'm addressing you now from New York, and a lot of our delegates are from all over the world, and our speakers are actually in Japan. Between now and Thursday, October 28, 2021, when we expect to host our next Japan Maritime Forum, we are initiating a series of webinars that are aimed to showcase the ongoing developments in Japan's vibrant maritime community and its continuing role and contribution to the global shipping industry. And today, we have the first webinar in this series, which again, as I mentioned, we expect to host with a certain regularity. The second one, by the way, is on Wednesday, January 13, 2021, and will be on the topic of ship finance and capital raising opportunities in Japan. Today's webinar, the first one, is going to focus on a critical topic of the industry on navigating the decarbonization challenge and building the ships of the future. The Japanese industry, the Japanese maritime community, has a proven track record of leadership and innovation, providing solutions, options, and strategies to address these challenges. And without any further delay, I would like to thank the panelists. And above all, I would like to thank our partners in this webinar, DNVGL and Stian Sollied, the country manager of DNVGL in Japan, who was instrumental putting this top-level panel together and who is going to moderate it. So before turning the floor over to Stian, I would like to thank Mr. Koyama from NYK, Mr. Akamatsu from Itochu, Mr. Nakano from Mitsui OSK Lines, and Mr. Ueda from Mitsubishi Shipbuilding. Again, thank you very much for being with us, and Stian, the floor is yours. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Nicholas. Let me just put up my screen here so we can get started. Very good. Again, thank you very much, Nicholas, for that great introduction. My name is Stian Sollied, and I am the country manager for DNVGL here in Japan. And I'm also today's moderator for something I believe will be a very interesting discussion on one of the hotter topics in shipping these days, navigating the decarbonization challenge, building the ships of the future. The reduction of greenhouse gas emissions is the next challenge, which will have a transformational impact on the industry. Regulators, fuel producers, shipbuilders, ship owners, charterers, financiers, and a wide range of industry participants need to come up with a workable and sustainable framework for the future. And as Nicholas mentioned, we have a great panel with us today representing different parts of the Japan Maritime Cluster. And this excellent panel will discuss strategies, options, and initiatives as the industry tries to set up to address the challenges involved in decarbonization. Nicholas briefly mentioned the panel we have here today. I will just make a little bit more formal introduction. From NYK, we are honored to have Captain Tomoyuki Koyama-san, Senior Managing Executive Officer, who also currently serves as Chief Safety Officer, Chief Information Officer, Chairman of Group IT Strategy Committee, Chief Executive of Technical Headquarters, Executive Chief of Environmental Management, and Chairman of the Technology Strategy Committee in NYK. A very busy man indeed, so we are grateful to have you here today, Koyama-san. Thank you very much. Representing the major Japanese trading house Itochu, I'm very happy to present Takeo Akamatsu-san. He's the Deputy Manager of Itochu's Marine Department, and he's been working with new building projects with shipyards and also for overseas clients since he joined the company in 1992. Now he's also covering development of new business opportunities, especially related to decarbonization. So a very relevant person to have on the panel. Thank you very much for attending, Akamatsu-san, and we're glad to have you as well. From Mwel, we are pleased to present Michigo Nakanosan, General Manager for Mwel's Bunker Business Division. He is the board member of SGMF, or Society for Gas as Marine Fuel, and he's very strongly engaged in building Mwel's decarbonization strategy for marine fuels. Thank you very much for coming here today, Nakano-san. And then finally, representing Mitsubishi Shipbuilding, Naoki Ueda-san. He is the Executive Vice President for Mitsubishi Shipbuilding. One of his main tasks is to drive R&D of innovative technologies, such as eco-friendly vessels and also autonomous vessels. Ueda-san is also a technical representative of Active Shipbuilding Experts Federation, which is an NGO that attends regulatory discussions in IMO. Thank you very much to the panelists on behalf of Capital Link and also behalf of DNVGL. Thank you very much to the panelists for taking the time now at a very busy time of the year, the end of the year 2020, which has been a challenging and difficult year. And I know we are all very busy now, so thank you very much for attending. Before we start the formal panel discussion, I would just like to take a few moments to give a quick introduction to the topic and the latest development. Oh, sorry. So IMO has, as you know, set their ambitions. And these, I'm quite sure, is well known to all of you listening in. And in a short while, I will outline the most important developments from the latest MEPC 75 meeting, which was held just some weeks ago. But in addition to that, we also see now that the European Union have ambitious goals for reducing Europe's carbon footprint, including shipping. And there's already discussions ongoing to include shipping in Europeans' emission trading scheme. And while details for this is not really decided yet, it is expected that this will definitely, or will most probably happen in the next 2 to 4 years. In addition to the normal regulators, so to speak, we also have financial institutions and charters, which are now also increasing their influence sphere to cover the decarbonization issue. As an example, we have the Poseidon principles, where signatories will calculate the carbon intensity of their vessels and establish an annual energy ratio of their shipping portfolio related to the established decarbonization trajectories. This is based on the verified IMO DCS data. And to assess climate alignment of each single vessel, the vessel's annual carbon intensity is compared with the decarbonization trajectories for the ship types and the size class. And the banks and the finance institution will require that ongoing compliance with the Poseidon principle is made contractual. On the other side, we have the Sea Cargo Charter, which is basically aligned and builds on what the Poseidon principles do. And it's also consistent with the policies and the ambitions of the IMO. The Sea Cargo Charter aims to set a benchmark for what it means to be a responsible charter in the maritime sector and provides actionable guidance on how to achieve this. And the signatories to the Sea Cargo Charter commit to implement Sea Cargo Charter in its internal policies, its procedure, and its standards. Seeing that the commercial side, the financiers and the charter sides is starting to involve themselves in decarbonization, I'm quite curious to hear what our panelists think about how this will actually impact the decarbonization of shipping. But before going to that, let's just have a look at the recent decisions made at MEPC 75 just some weeks ago. Sorry. So the priority for MEPC 75 was to address how we actually efficiently can reduce the carbon intensity by 40% in 2030, as this was basically the last meeting that could actually approve any amendments that will go into force on 1st of January 2023. And MEPC decided further to work on a combination of a technical approach and an operational approach. New regulations to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from ships are the Energy Efficiency Existing Ship Index, the so-called EEXI, and an operational carbon intensity indicator, and an enhanced ship energy efficiency management plan. The EEXI will impose requirements equivalent to what EEDI does for new builds today. But the EEXI will apply to all existing ships, regardless of which year it's built, and it's also intended as a one-off certification. This EEXI is to be verified, and a new energy efficiency certificate is to be issued no later than the first annual International Air Pollution Survey on or after 1st of January 2023. So, to the compliance side, how do we comply with EEXI requirements? Well, this can either be done by retrofitting the vessel for using a lower carbon fuel. This could be, for instance, LNG or LPG or maybe methanol, but could potentially, especially for existing vessels, be a fairly costly way to comply with the EEXI requirements. You could also comply by introducing energy-saving technologies, or as a third option, introduce an engine power limitation. And it's the last choice here that at least we believe will be the most commonly used method. So the engine power limitation is not going to be a physical reduction in engine power, but it will be introduce a maximum limit allowed, which then will be continuously monitored and can only be overridden in case of emergency. Hence, due to this, engine power limitation will then introduce a maximum speed limit, which then again could have an impact on the commercial operation of the vessel if this is lower than what the typical operating speeds is today. So this basically concludes my very quick and hopefully efficient introduction. Let me now just stop sharing and we can go to the panel. 2 seconds. So, with that introduction, I would like to start our today's small discussion. And my first question to the panel is, given the recent development at MEPC 75, what's your view on this development, and how optimistic are the panelists that the shipping industry might reach the targets that's originally set out by IMO? So that's the first question, and I think we will start with Captain Koyama-san initially to hear the response from NYK side. Please, Mr. Koyama-san.
Thank you, Stian. So about IMO regulation targets, I am sure we can be optimistic to reach the target, especially the target set for the year 2030, because we have enough time, and because of the high demand about environmental management from the society, shipping industry got used to the slow steaming these days. And I already checked our fleet, how we can meet the EEXI, and we just keep our operation and we can meet the requirement of EEXI. And when it comes to the 2030 reduction target, so also we are optimistic about this one. But when it comes to the target of the year 2050, it'll be a different story. We need, our industry needs development of a new engine or fuel change or to meet that target. But for the year 2030, I'm optimistic about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Koyama-san, for that good insight. So very, very interesting to hear. I think we will go next to Nakano-san from Mwel to hear his view and Mwel's view on the situation. Is it similar to NYK, or are you being more pessimistic or optimistic?
Yes, about same as I said by Koyama-san, that I'm so optimistic about to achieve the goal at 2030. After the Lehman shock, we made the slow steaming. A lot of slow steaming and applying the new engine is a very, very good fuel consumption. So I think that very I'm sure that we should be very optimistic about to achieve the goal of 2030. But the 2050 is a different. At this moment, we don't have any perfect solution to comply with the target in the 2050. We should have some combination about slow steaming or the change of the fuels, and also we need some of the technological breakthrough. get to overcome the target in 2050.
Thank you very much, Nakanosan. Very much in line with Koyama-san's view, I understand, from both our ship owner represented there. Then maybe we can go to Itochu Akamatsu-san. What is the trading house position on this? Akamatsu-san? Oh, sorry. Then we can.
Yeah, okay.
We are waiting for.
Now, okay. Our music was ended. Okay, thank you very much. And so we say basically same view, but so this time as a first step, we are very much pay attention how they apply new rules to existing vessel. So as a first step, I think that is a good direction. And also, we understand that there are some discussion about the incentive to encourage the industrial people to enter into the low carbon or zero emission vessel. Of course, still not, we don't have any result, but at least everybody in the industries understand we need something as an incentive. I think that is a good step as a first step. But then, as everybody pointed out, 2050 target, of course, we need more and more. Maybe we can discuss later.
Very good. Thank you very much, Akamatsu-san. Then we move to our shipbuilding side of this panel. Ueda-san from Mitsubishi Shipbuilding. So what's your view on the latest development, and are you optimistic that the industry might reach the target set out by IMO?
Okay. So I'd like to focusing on short-term measures and go on to the medium and long-term. The first point is the short-term measures, such as EEDI and CII framework. We welcome to adopt these kind of measures for existing vessels and actual reduction activities on the operational side. And you may know already EEDI regulation started since 2013, 1st of January, but it's only for new ships. And it has, now it's in a stage of phase 2, 20% reduction, and we'll step up to 30, 40, maybe 40 more, phase 3 and 4. But it is not enough to achieve the medium and long-term target, we think. And you may also know if such kind of short-term measures will be adopted in 2023, it has already passed 10 years since the beginning of EEDI establishment. So it means these kind of regulations will be effectively affect on 10 years old or more vessels. So we are welcome to be phasing out such kind of old, not so good performance vessels and improve the total carbon emissions in the world. So this is the first point over the short term. And in the medium and long term issue, it means and the target of 2030, it's a little bit optimistic. I am, because many ship operators can achieve by their effort. And then, but next long term, I mean 2050, not so easy to achieve, because even if we apply the EEDI for all vessels and EEXI and CII, the total reduction of level is maximum 40 or something. So not so easy to achieve 50% reduction in the total amount of reduction, total amount reduction of GHG in 2050. So we believe we need to include and provide carbon neutral fuels such as ammonia or hydrogen before that time frame. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eda-san, for very interesting insights from your side. At least as I read the whole panel, I think the panel is in a fairly good alignment on the views setting out. That I think, as I read you, you are all fairly optimistic on the 2030 targets, and that this should be achievable from, I would say, from all stakeholders' point of view in the industry, but that the 2050 target is a more challenging one. And this is where we need to put the efforts on developing further low or no carbon fuels. And that basically also leads me into the next question for the panel here, especially then, I think, going towards our ship owners represented here today. What steps are you taking in order to decarbonize your fleet? And what do you believe are the most likely pathways going forward? And maybe for this question, maybe Nakano-san from Mwel could give his first views, please. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Stian-san. So based on my experience working for the LNG as a marine fuel, I'm working for some projects. So many challenges in front of us when adapting the new fuels from R&D, and the safety and risk assessment, legal frameworks, supply chain development, and finally, we can go to the fleet development. So still, say LNG, although its contribution to reduce GHG is limited, is not perfect solution, but still LNG as a marine fuel is a practical and the most prompt options still. So recently, I read some news about Total supply LNG to the CMCGM vessel with bio-LNG using the scheme about guarantee of origin. So with such system or using such as some technological solution like carbon captures or methanation or bio-LNG, I think LNG will be still the most, as I said, the prompt and the practical option in the midterm. And also the biofuel, biodiesel is one of the good solutions for shipping because we can use existing facilities. The problem is availability, particularly in Europe. We should fight with aircraft fuel. So availability is a main issue. And ammonia and hydrogen, I think is the next main player, the main player to be, but still R&D or legal framework or still not yet infrastructure stage. That means will be a bit premature for this development. But we should study or to use ammonium and hydrogen as the next mainstream of the marine fuel. That is my opinion.
Very good. So you see basically, just to kind of summarize my understanding here, you see LNG as the most, at least at the present, LNG, potentially bio-LNG or biofuel as the most
carbon capture or carbon recycle.
At least in the short to medium term, but yes. And then as a transition into, for instance, ammonia or hydrogen into the future, or
yes, but even in 2050, we cannot use only ammonium hydrogen. I think with some kind of the combination among the LNG, ammonium hydrogen, and for the short haul voyage. If we have some technical breakthrough, we can use the battery. But anyway, we'll be diversified.
So a multi-fuel future is what we're looking at from your perspective. Good. Thank you very much, Nakano-san. That's a very good insight. And then we move over to NYK and Koyama-san. Do you second these comments from Mwel, or is there a different view from your side?
My view is not different, but slightly additions. And like Nakano-san said, LNG fuel is the only proven technology right now to reduce GHG. And in order to meet our own environment target for the year 2030, which is the 30% reduction compared to the year 2015. So slightly different from IMO. Actually, it's a little bit harder than that of IMO. But anyway, to meet that requirements, we have decided to change our engine. I mean, for the new buildings, as much as possible, we would like to introduce LNG burned engines. But even though, so the number of LNG burned engine at the year 2030 is only anywhere between 60 to 65 ships in total. We already have 3, but and in total we have 750 plus ships in our operations. So that's why by changing the fuel from fossil fuel, the heavy fuel oil to LNG contribute only 1% of the reduction of the GHG. And in others, technical, the hardware technological advancement, we can reduce 10%. Technological advancement such as the hull shape, and also some additions in the hull, and etc., etc. But hardware contributions only anywhere around 10 to 12%. So cannot be reached the 30%, which is our target. So how we can achieve that another 20% is that from the operational efficiency to improvement in the operational efficiency. And like I said, even though I said I'm optimistic to meet the target of year 2030, but it is not that easy. We have to struggle to make an improvement in the operational efficiency. And everybody thinks will understand that by reducing the speed, you can reduce GHG emissions. But there are the requirements on the part from the cargo owner, from the society. It is not that easy. And one of the solutions we are thinking about by digitalizations, we can minimize the waste of the time. What is that? Okay, how many hours or days ships are waiting for berth just before the port? And how much time you spend for the opening the hatch cover? And how much time you consume for the documentation after you reach the port before starting the cargo work, etc., etc. There are many waste of time, but we don't know how much times are we wasting. So by digitalization, we can have a tool by which the operator can tell how much we are wasting the time and how we can minimize that wasting time. If you minimize that wasting time, we have more time for the navigation. So by which we can reduce the more speed at the same time to meet the requirement of the cargo owner and from the society. So that is what we are doing to meet the target of year 2030. And like Nakano-san said, if the methanation is achieved, we can continue to utilize the LNG burned engines even after year 2030. But for the target of year 2050, of course, we have what they call the zero emission ships. The fuel should be either the hydrogen or ammonia. But for the technical point of view, the hydrogen is only applied for the smaller ships. And for the bigger ship, maybe ammonia is a solution. And but at this moment, we don't know. So we have a mechanism to support the development of this ammonia engine or hydrogen engine or fuel cells. Otherwise, we won't be able to achieve the target of year 2050. That's what we are thinking about it. But at this moment, for the year 2030, this can be achieved only by our own effort. So that's why we're struggling for the digitalization and minimizing the waste of time, and also the changeover of the engine to the LNG. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Koyama-san. So basically, to sum up, you also, of course, have a similar focus on applying low carbon fuels such as LNG, and but you will also like to put quite an emphasis on operational efficiency that you can realize with help of digitalization measures to avoid downtime and to I would say, make the fleet as efficient as possible. That's my understanding from
yeah,
your...
so sorry to make addition that we have already have experiences experience of the reducing the much fuel oil by doing that improvement in efficiency. And oftentimes a ship and operator and terminal don't talk with each other. And even master of the ship operator don't know if the berth is available at the destination. So even the improving that communication will make a big difference in reducing the GHG. Absolutely.
The fuel that emits the least is, of course, the fuel you never use. So that is the most environmental friendly approach you can have. Thank you very much, Koyama-san. Then let's hear from Itochu Akamatsu-san for the trading house input on this question.
Okay, and Itochu, as a trading house, of course, we are doing not only ship business, trading business, new building, second-hand, chartering, financing, but also ship owning business. And so in that sense, well, now we have to consider shipyard position, because I think shipping industries, maybe they can wait until solution is there, maybe 10 years. Maybe okay. If no new building for coming 5 years, 10 years, then market should be increased. That is good news. But for shipyard point of view, if like 5 years, no vessel to build, and then how, as industries, how shipbuilding industry can survive? That's why we try to consider what to be a solution. And so we agree, LNG is today's option. That's why 1 year ago, we expected that everybody coming to the LNG vessel, LNG field vessel. But as of today, of course, some people decided to move, but many people are waiting for what will be the solution. That's why we decided to develop the ammonia field vessel together with our partners, which is Imabari Shipyard, biggest shipyard in Japan, Amman Energy Solution, Mitsui & Machinery, Classification Society NK, Itochu NX, and Itochu. We launched a development project of ammonia field vessel in April this year, and tried to develop not only the vessel itself, but also supply chain of ammonia. So as like NYK or Mitsubishi pointed out, it's very difficult to prepare the supply chain, of course. That's why we need partners. And we, as a trading house, we have access to many industries, not only shipping industry, but also shippers or fuel industries and regulatory or many people. That's why taking the opportunity of taking advantage of a trading house as a conglomerate, we try to develop integrated project, which is ammonia vessel. Therefore, taking this opportunity, we'd like to request or invite the all party here to join our development together.
Thank you very much, Akamatsu-san, for your interesting input on ongoing projects, which is actually going towards developing new carbon neutral fuels for the future, and seeing kind of the importance of gathering different stakeholders in the industry to actually realize that. I think it's also mentioned by the others here earlier as like, this is not something one company or one man can do by himself. This requires the efforts of kind of the whole society almost as such, with the different parties and stakeholders that you need to gather to drive this forward. Thank you very much. Then you touched upon the shipyard side, and I think that makes it very relevant now to jump over to Ueda-san, representing Mitsubishi Shipbuilding, and then ask maybe a bit different question, but in the same kind of on the topic. How are the Japanese shipyards preparing for the decarbonized future, and what kind of technology and solutions does Japanese shipyards offer to owners that would like to renew their fleets in a more, I would say, carbon-friendly way? Ueda-san.
Yes. You may know Mitsubishi is one of the leader company building LNG carrier. So we have an technology to use LNG as fuels. So we are now providing such kind of the LNG fuel engine or propulsion system for the domestic shipyards, not only us. And so we agree LNG is one of the highest position of new fuels of the vessel for decarbonization. And also I'd like to focusing on several other candidates of new fuels. As you already mentioned about technical difficulties and some difficulties on safety assessment and an amount of the capacity who can provide. And all the industries, not only the maritime cluster, is now focusing on decarbonization. So it means everybody wants to get such kind of the technologies, and also everybody wants to get such kind of fuels. So it is quite difficult to expect what the new fuels we can use for the vessels. And you may already recognize to introduce new fuels of ship, we need to disclose and develop quite wide range of technologies, such as chemistry, cryogenic, metallic properties, etc. So quite wide. So also the field of applications are not only for systems on board of the vessel, but also some other facilities on shore, such as fuel production factory, storage facility, and transportation. And also transfer system from shore to ship is very important in safe. These kind of quite wide variation of technology development and quite wide range of investigation is not so easy for only one company to do it. That is our intention. So some of the Japanese shipyards has already agreed to establish the collaboration scheme focusing on developing zero emission ships last month. Now 9 shipyards are joining, and MHR is taking lead of its activities. The door is fully open, and we welcome any parties who join and work together. And the details will be released for public medias tomorrow. We will have a public announcement. Thank you.
Thank you, Ueda-san, for that very interesting, I would say, pre-announcement to the exclusive to the Capital Link Forum today. That's very interesting to hear. And like we mentioned before here, I think, yes, this is not a one company or one man job. This requires the collaboration of whole industries, and I would say also cross industries in order to achieve the targets. So cooperation across both industries and across borders is essential in order to achieve the targets that are set out. Going a bit back to the regulatory side, I mentioned here in the presentation in the beginning that that EU is now kind of starting up with their consideration of including shipping in the European Emission Trading Scheme. So we're seeing more and more, I would say, local policy measures. And the question to the panelists, do you see this as a wanted development? Is this accelerating what is happening in IMO, or is it creating more a disturbance to the industry? What's your view on this? And maybe we could start with Akamatsu-san in Itochu for this topic.
Okay, thank you. And of course, ideally, the international policy by IMO, only one single policy, that is very clear. But we are afraid that it takes a time and maybe cannot be so strict because of mutual agreement internationally. So in such case, maybe in order to develop or accelerate our like a zero emission ship project, definitely we need something more and more. So in that sense, I think local policy, I think it's very much helpful for the party to develop. But if it is the incentive, I think it can be workable. But if it is like a carbon tax, and then very difficult, because if it's the case, then like shippers, a shipping company, or ship owners, they may try to escape from that area. That's why maybe incentive is, I think, the key for local policy.
Incentives. So basically, from your point of view, you're positive to local policy measures, but primarily if they are kind of considered as incentives and not as, I would say, punishments as such, but they will work better as incentives. Thank you very much, Akamatsu-san. Then maybe Koyama-san, what is, do you have any views on this from NYK side?
Yes, from the viewpoint of a ship owner or operator, the localization of policy is not advisable. Yeah, we are not happy to see that so many localization policy is going on. Of course, the ship goes to any part of the world, Europe, America, and Asia. If the regulation or requirements are different from port to port, so the workload of the ship and workload of the ship owner will be very horrible. And of course, granted, some local requirements, stricter local requirements give some pleasure to the industry to make an improvement. But on the other hand, the workload and the burden of the ship owner is very big, and it will not last long. So, and also if the reporting method or reporting requirement is different, and in every port, if the requirement of the reporting or methodology is different, and because I'm a captain, so the captain should be a struggle on each port. So it's not so advisable. And so in order to reduce the workload on the part of the ship and on the part of the ship owner, so those requirements should be standardized, not localized. Standardized and the systematic way. And for that matter, so instead of making the local requirement, local people should communicate with IMO, and IMO should respond quickly. And the failure of the shipping industry in the past was that we underestimate the environmental requirement of the society, especially from Europe. And the activities and response from the IMO was rather, I would say, very slow and non-committal answers only. So that's why the people in the EU are a little bit upset and try to make the localization of policy. But it is not the way we are going. We should have standardized, internationally centralized requirements. That's my opinion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Koyama-san. So not advisable that you would like to have measures, but they should be kind of globally implemented and standardized. Very good. And I also see that you kind of recognize the lack of attention maybe from the shipping industry previously, which is kind of created this pressure from local policy measures. But that means basically that shipping should now maybe step up and take this IMO challenge very seriously, which I believe many parties of the industry is doing today. Thank you very much, Koyama-san. Then Ueda-san, now maybe to Nakano-san first. Do you want to second the comments from NYK?
Yes, about same as in order to encourage or enhance environmental initiatives to reduce the GHG, we should have two kinds of systems. One is to adjust cost difference between the existing fuel and the alternate fuels, and also the second one, we need to have some how to calculate carbon footprint from shipping. We should have two. From that standpoint, MVM is workable, but from the shipping company, like an ocean-going shipping company, like Mwel and NYK, so rules should be always globally unified, not localized. I think it doesn't work. So we should have the globally unified rules. And so that same as Koyama-san's opinion, actually, frankly speaking, we underestimate the influence from the society, particularly in Europe, local society, that we should not. We should focus on the opinion, but from shipping company point of view, rules should be standardized in one rules for all ocean-going shipping companies. We need some equal footing. That is my opinion.
Very clear message from the ship owners are there. Global application, standardized rule implementation across the line for the industry. Thank you. And then from the shipbuilding side, do you have anything to comment on this, Ueda-san?
Yeah, okay. I completely agree with ship owners' point of view, but I also understand the nature why the local agents or the countries wants to have own local regulations, because it's coming from the Paris Agreement. And on the other hand, I need to stress on these kind of localizations are sometimes a barrier against the global regulations. One of the examples is the ballast water management system. You may remember, several countries set higher level of regulations to protect their ports and harbor, and some ballast water management systems approved based on IMO requirement has not been accepted by the local rules. It's quite a long time we spent to finally acceptance of that kind of systems. It's not a good way, I think. So we will need to collaborate all the countries and in industries. So as Stian-san introduced me, I'm a member of ASF, and ASF is collaborating with the European industries also. So this kind of activities is very important to drive GHG emission reductions in the world, I think. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your insight and view, Ueda-san. Very interesting. Then we move over from the traditional regulators over to, I would say, the commercial side, which we also briefly talked about in the introduction here. How does the panel see the steps and influence taken by financing institutions and charters to accelerate decarbonization in shipping? So maybe we can start with Koyama-san here. What's your view on kind of the commercial side starting to pressure the industry more to take decarbonization steps?
Yes, thank you very much. Decarbonization is a requirement from all the people, including us. So it is even happy for us to, in finance or cargo owner, will be involved in the decarbonization. And actually, we are looking into the same directions, and any industry, and any one industry can achieve the decarbonization. And so, I mean, harmonization or collaboration of all the industry should be necessary. But at the same time, so in order to do something, nowadays the people are requiring the data, fewer data, etc. But we need to secure the transparency of those data, and also the ownership of the data should be also considered, and also data quality. So a current achievement initiative by Europe, and sorry to say that the EU MRV, so the accuracy of the data is quite questionable, because the data from EU MRV is open to public. So we are analyzing the data, but there are many inaccurate data. So if some requirements of the cargo owner or finance utilize those inaccurate data and do something, the result will be very, well, undesirable. So before going to the, well, actual activities, we need to set up the standardization of the requirements, also the data transparency, data ownership, and the data quality issue should be discussed and streamlined first. And with this, based upon this, we can collaborate with each other, and it is very, very necessary. So I am very happy that finance and cargo owner will be involved in this GHG reduction issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Koyama-san. So I understand you're very positive to their involvement and initiative, but at the same time, you're concerned about the data accuracy, the data quality, etc. And this is, I would say, essential to make this a success. So that needs the contribution from, I would say, all stakeholders to make a scheme that can actually represent reality. Thank you very much. Then Nakano-san, Mwel, what's your view on the kind of commercial side attempt to decarbonize?
So the decarbonization is a kind of the societal issue on the global basis. No one can solve it by themselves. We need some of the alliance, beyond the border, the company or industry or government or academic side. Now, of course, to collaboration with industries other than shipping industry is quite important. But the key is to how to ensure or secure the fairness and the effectiveness and transparency of the schemes. I'm so very I think that we need some collaboration with those companies or shipping outside the shipping industries. But the point is to how to secure its effectiveness, and the transparency is very important. About same comment from the Koyama.
Yeah. So the ship owners there are again in very much alignment on this topic. What about Akamatsu-san from Itochu? What's your do you have any perspectives on this?
Okay, so during our development of ammonia project, of course, first of all, we believe the shippers' involvement is most important. That's why we made several presentations to many shippers until now, and invited them to join us. And so we have to say that, of course, already many shippers made an announcement that decarbonization is very important. But we would like to have action. I mean, more shippers participate not only our project, but also like a similar project. Even like LNG fuel vessels, of course, that is today's option. And then we understand that many shippers started to take LNG fuel vessel. That is a good development, good direction. Therefore, we'd like to invite the shippers to join this challenge together. And financial side, we would like to have more support from like a financial institute, especially still if we don't have any incentive, and then how shippers, the parties who involve this challenge, how they can get the benefit. Of course, the reputation is one of the issues, but how they can get the benefit financially. So then I think that is the matter how the banks on the financial industries to consider how they can provide benefit to the party who participate in the challenge. So I think we hope everybody's participation.
Thank you very much, Akamatsu-san, for your useful comments. So I see we are getting close to the end of the hour. Ueda-san, do you have anything to add on the commercial side from your point of view?
Okay. As you understand, the Poseidon principles is not for the shipyards. And, but yes, global companies who are aiming to introduce ESG principles in their policy we should welcome this kind of activities for the financial side. And we also welcome if the financial industry clusters invest our activities, of course. And one more thing, and as Koyama-san mentioned about fairness and transparency, it's very important to evaluate the also not only the performance of the vessel, but also the performance of the vessel at sea. So Japanese shipbuilding industries agreed to establish the agreed and spent 3 years to develop an ship performance framework, measuring the actual performance at sea. Those tools will be released shortly, and operational carbon intensity reduction activities will be promoted, I think. So that kind of an activities for keeping transparency and fairness is very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Eda-san. Like I mentioned, the time runs very fast when we're talking and discussing both very interesting and also very important topic as this. So I will just close with one final question, and I appreciate if you can be as short as possible and just highlight your most important views on this. And that is what needs to happen for shipping to reach IMO decarbonization targets. What does IMO need to do, or what does society need to do? If you can highlight what you believe is the most important thing that needs to happen in order to reach the target, that would be very interesting to hear as a kind of closing argument from the panel. So we start with Nakano-san first, please.
Okay, very simple. We need some alliance and competition. To build a platform or the framework, we should have the alliance with those all participants. Then we go to in the competition. So the alliance and the competition is the keyword of this at this moment. That is my
very
opinion.
good, very short and concise. Thank you very much. Alliance and competition, easy to remember. Koyama-san, what's your view?
Yes, I think the IMO should have a higher level of dialogue, communication with the society, and then make the universal regulations. That is the solution. And but by the regulation made by IMO, and all the ship owner and will follow that. It's very fair. So only with that, the fairness will be secured. And I don't think the emission trading is not a solution for the reducing the GHG. It's a business, and ship owner will not have any benefit out of emission trading, and we should, and also IMO, by having a high level communications, we should we want them to understand that we need a high investment, high level of investment to make the ships, and it takes time to change the ship in a fleet, because the lifetime of the ship is 15, 20 years. And like I said, even though I want to make the replacement of engines, only a small amount of can be achieved within 10 years. So so that's why my comment is not so concise, but high level of communication between shipping industry and the community is very important. And also some incentives from that activities society, like from the environmental levy. If we can have an alliance, like Nakanosan said, alliance to develop the new type of engine, that'll be very helpful. Because at any rate, the making the new engine, new type of engine, or new solution will be very costly.
Thank you very much.
But alliance is necessary.
Alliances, high level of communication between the industry and the society is important. Thank you very much. Akamatsu-san, thank you. Can you also come with your last final comments to this topic?
Okay, I think we have to make a change of our mindset because the industry is changing. And so maybe everybody understands that low emission, zero emission vessel are very costly. And so we cannot change. It's costly. Therefore, I think emission control, strict emission control, more and more, and some economical incentive for challenge, both is very necessary. That's it.
Very good. Thank you very much, Akamatsu-san. Then Ueda-san, you'll have the final word representing Mitsubishi Shipbuilding and the shipbuilding industry. What's your input?
Okay. Decarbonization is very costly. So we need to solve this problem, but investment for developing new technologies and to enable alternative fuels and the cost of fuels, additional capex of ships, and offshore facilities to supply new fuels. These kind of things is not so small, but they should be shared to all tiers of users of international shipping, including final customers. This kind of systems we need to introduce. Thank you.
Very good. Then thank you very, very much for all your input. I think it's been a very interesting discussion, and thank you for all the input. I think we have a fairly aligned panel and views from all industry partners here. And I think everyone is strongly emphasizing the importance of this topic and the impact it's going to have on the industry and society going forward. Like I said, we are just about the hour now, so I should not prolong this more than necessary. I just would like to thank, first of all, the panelists for joining here today. Thank you very much for your very valuable contribution. Thank you for all the participants listening in. I see there's quite a lot of participants here, and it's good to see that so many is listening in on this very important topic. Then finally, I will just wish everyone safe and sound now the rest of 2020. It's been a challenging year for everyone. I hope that you're all and your families are all safe and sound. Take care and go into a peaceful and hopefully good 2021. On behalf of DNVGL and on behalf of Capital Link, I would like to thank you again very much and wish you a nice evening, a nice afternoon, or nice morning, wherever you are in the world. Thank you to participants. Thank you very much to the panelists. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.